up until yesterday, I was convinced that the story of the week would be BP pulling out of South African airports.
Yeah, that's what we've been preparing for all week.
Yeah. But now with the recent flurry of NOTAMs cancelling all sorts of approaches around airports around South Africa, kind of taking center stage at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's with that, hey? Bloem, George, Pietermaritzburg,
Yeah.
Richards Bay, all
And
the procedures have been cancelled.
with more to come, probably.
Right before the long weekend, as someone so rightly pointed out earlier on today in conversation.
It's not a good situation, is it? Look, do you know the story behind it?
I've been
There's
trying to pick up
speculation.
info, but it's a bit vague.
There's no official news story about it that I've found, but Duncan posting on Fly Africa there, that's where I first picked it up. And look, far be it for us, and we're not about to go and speculate all sorts of dodgy corruption and other nonsense towards the CIA. You know, this isn't a carte blanche episode. And, you know, we don't really know the story behind it. So we'll wait to see what comes of it and then maybe have a bit of a comment there. But it's not good.
It isn't good.
It's not good.
Airlink were affected by it yesterday. I saw on one of the posts, I think it was on Facebook, but there was a Radar 24 image of them doing a couple of holds over Maritzburg and then obviously having to divert to Durban because of this. And I mean, you know, what do they probably offer? 2, 3, maybe 4 flights into Maritzburg every day. So it's going to hit them hard.
It's going to hit them hard. CIA, obviously, South African CIA going through an ICAO audit at the moment. So a couple of comments there. Does this have anything to do with the audit?
Yeah.
Let's wait and see what the story is there.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a, as I say, you know, we're used to commenting on stories. I'm a little bit, you know, there might be a good reason behind it. And if it's a safety thing behind it, well then, of course, they're going to cancel those approaches. But they've been there for such a long time, those approaches. We were doing them at, you know, in our flying days, and they were long established way before then. So, yeah, anyway.
I wonder if it's maybe just like a maintenance issue or have they not been reviewed
or renewed or whatever it might be.
We'll see.
But, hopefully those get sorted out very, very, very soon. That's the one thing. The other big story for me this week was a advert I saw on LinkedIn basically saying that Ryanair will be offering up positions to ICAO license holders and expect to see a roadshow in South Africa very, very soon.
Massive news that, man. Massive, massive, massive news. I mean, you know what that does for guys here in SA who don't have to then, you know, jump through all the hoops to go and get an ICAO license.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Going to offer big opportunities. And again, it's just going to, you know, escalate that pilot shortage that we're going to see
make
very,
it even,
very soon.
Yeah, basically that article said, or that advert said, fantastic news for direct entry captains, rated or non-rated EASA or ICAO license holders. We have opened up direct entry captain recruitment to support our growth. Assessments will take place weekly. To find out more about, please view the video. There was a good video there. And stay tuned for roadshows in Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, and South Africa. Ryanair are one of the employers of choice. So that is going to create a bit of movement here, but it's so nice to see opportunities coming that otherwise would not be there without the shortage. So, of course, the pilot shortage adds a bit of chaos, but, man, it does throw in a few opportunities to people that are...
Look, sitting on the sidelines watching all of this happening is exciting. I mean, we've just seen our friends from Australia were here last week, put on a...
Air North.
Yeah, big roadshow. Looked like they had quite a fair turnout of guys coming in.
They
and
did. There was a lot
interest.
of movement in and out that last week with prospective employees.
So it doesn't look like they're going to struggle to fill those positions. And, you know, Ryanair is one of them. The airlines that are coming through even like the corporate companies, VistaJet, one of them.
VistaJet, another one. Yeah.
You know,
And that's for the Malta base. Huh?
yeah.
So that's another good option. And a lot of these guys, you know, myself included at one stage, man, if I could have got a gig flying a corporate around, I would have taken it. So I'm sure that's just going to be as high up on the list as a Ryanair position.
Of course, any opportunity that you can sort of jump at now to break into that European sector.
Yeah.
If you're not jumping at that now,
you're styling, man. Yeah. Well, this was the topic. I mean, if you're not jumping at it now, how long will the opportunity stay there for?
Yeah, it's a big question. Big question. I mean, you know, we've got a couple of guys and girls that we know that are at the precipice of jumping into that career now.
Word of the day.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from, bro. Holy smoke. Barocca.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're about to jump. And like we were saying to them the other day, this window is there now. You better be jumping through it because how long will it last?
Yeah.
You know.
Hopefully it'll be there for a while to come.
No, for the foreseeable future, man. I mean, the way things are expanding and... Yeah, I think it'll be a while. But who knows? Because obviously at some point, I think you mentioned this, it was... Are the airlines going to start realizing that trying to expand too much is going to do more harm or be more detrimental in the future, rather just scale back because of a pilot shortage, keep the airlines small? You know, will that have a knock-on effect to this window that we're talking about?
Yeah. I think the growth at some point that, you know, pilots and crew members as a whole haven't slowed down the growth of an airline ever like they are at the moment.
Yeah.
So they're certainly looking at those numbers, what they can employ, how many they can employ, and obviously not just now, but, you know, going forward over the next 5 years, planning for these airlines is not just an overnight thing. It's well thought out in advance. And I'm pretty sure that there'd be some serious talking going on at the moment about how are we going to scale this. It's all very well going and, you know, leasing as many 800s as you can. But if you don't have drivers, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it must be some interesting conversations going on in the boardroom there. Like, you know, along the lines of, do we buy, say, 20 regional size aircraft, or do we rather go for 5 bigger, you know, mid-sized jets?
Yeah.
And, you know, sacrifice frequency for capacity, and that would obviously help the airline or the pilot numbers. But, yeah, there must be some interesting conversations going on around that.
Will you ever get to a point, or will there ever be a opportunity for a company or even an airline? And I think this was mentioned a while ago, but I'm not so sure in this context. If you're a airline, you say, for argument's sake, let's say Fly Safair, all right, and you employ as many pilots as you possibly can under that Safair employ. How valuable does that network of, or that pilot pool, how valuable is that pilot pool in terms of an overall asset? Like, at what point are we going to see airlines outsourcing big groups of pilots to other airlines for big paychecks? So in other words, you're still employed under your original employment banner, but the company that you're working for ultimately can use you wherever they like. I mean, if you had to look at a situation where in the States at the moment, Southwest need pilots, you know, would they be looking around the world at other airlines and say, look, we can maybe snatch 100 pilots from here, 200 pilots from there? They're not going to get by training 1, 2, 3 a day. They need 100 pilots today. So the only way they can do that is to actually go and, you know, pilot, not like
rent a group of pilots from another airline that maybe doesn't need
they've all had the training, they're all up to date, they can start flying tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we're going to see something like that, and, you know, maybe...
Can you imagine all the red tape and the contracts that have to go around? Because, I mean, these guys, you know...
Yeah, but if you think about it, your contract exists with your company, airline. Your existing airline, and your existing airline signs a contract with someone else.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of shift across and start operating for this other operator, you know.
I don't think it's going to be much of a muchness to the individual themselves, as long as they still keep the same money and have as long as they're not getting shafted in terms of perks or money.
But there will
Doesn't
be,
really
like,
make a
like,
difference.
like for argument's sake, let's say Delta have to do that, or United,
Yeah.
and they go and take a whole whack of pilots from somewhere in the world. You're going to be flying with the Delta guys earning 20 times the amount that you're earning and doing the same job.
No, but they must match the money, man.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because they'll use that money. That money, who's it going to go to? It's going to go to the airline that is offering up their pilots, because that airline ain't going to be...
Yeah, but if that airline is not using me...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
only if they're not being used. But
Yeah.
just an idea, little business idea there. Yeah, but anyway, a story that is just going to continue, and no doubt we'll be speaking about it every week. But let's get to some other international aviation news, of which there was quite a bit this week.
Yeah.
Had a look at that severe turbulence on that TAAG flight was pretty hectic, eh?
Yeah, nuts. So did you see the pictures from inside the cabin?
Yeah, it was wild. The pictures were just nuts, because I think the packs were being served their food at the time.
Yeah.
So there was food, there was liquids all over the ceiling, absolute chaos.
Yeah, I think there were 15 people that were quite badly hurt.
Yeah. 330, 300.
Yeah. That's what happens when you don't stay strapped in.
Yeah.
Not the first time that's happened, though. It's happened quite a lot. There was an SAA flight many years ago, I think on its way to Hong Kong.
Similar things.
Yeah, I mean, there were cracks in the overhead panels from people's heads and stuff. So
it must be incredibly scary to be a passenger in that situation. Obviously, with us, being airline pilots, you know what it's all about, and that immediate panic is not there. But different story when you're sitting next to your children or something.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you imagine a lot of very scared parents on that flight? A topic I want to bring up, and maybe we'll throw it at the audience as well. A couple of articles about this. An off-duty pilot stepped into the hot seat mid-air on it was a Southwest flight, I think, actually.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Southwest captain that. He was just a captain of another airline that offered up his services after the other captain, the operating captain, became incapacitated. And pretty straightforward. Apparently, this captain just did the radio work and allowed the first officer to operate and land the aircraft, as you would be trained to do. So for those of you who don't know, basically when you're doing a type rating, part of your type rating would be to do pilot incapacitations. So if your captain or your first officer becomes incapacitated, can you operate the aircraft single crew? And of course, it's no major exercise.
Look, I can bet you $1 million right now that that thought's gone through every private pilot's mind.
Yeah.
When he gets on board a paxing flight, like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna go and fly this airplane.
Yeah, start your phone quickly, record some reels of you flying the Southwest aircraft. But look, this is a different story, because this was an actual captain of it wasn't sort of a private pilot, and offered up his services, which was used. And ultimately that first officer, I'm sure he would have been questioned as well as to, couldn't you just do it yourself? But I suppose
I think isn't a standard procedure, if that does happen, try and find out if there is someone at the back that can offer up and be an extra pair of eyes.
But the issue with that, Ryan, if you go exactly that, if you offer up, is there anyone in the back that can, in the cabin, that can assist up here because we've got this situation, you're going to have a lot of heroes putting their hands up that have only flown a 737 on X-plane before.
Yeah.
And now suddenly they're sitting in this flight deck, and now they become more of a hindrance than anything else. They start going for things because they're trying to help.
Yeah.
So unless you're a proper seasoned operator and look, this isn't my thing here, I'm just here to assist with the radio work, it can actually be a bit of an issue.
No, but that's where the crew card comes in. The guy obviously had a crew card, which identified him.
True.
And I bet you, as all crew members do, you flash your crew card when you get on board, hoping for a better seat. Not that it would make a difference on Southwest, because I don't suppose it's business class. But,
no.
I think it is usually the polite thing to do in this instance. So that's probably what happened. But you're quite right. You have some, whackhead who thinks he knows a thing or two about aviation. It would be quite dangerous.
That'd be very dangerous.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be doing that. But anyway, it obviously worked out fine. But then there was another article that came out It asked Americans, a little survey done there. Can you land a plane in an emergency? So this is just normal people, normal accountants, whatever, not pilots. And let's say the pilots become, both pilots, had the chicken and ended up in the toilet and couldn't operate the plane. Would you be able to put your hand up and say, "I'm your man"? Depending on how you identify, I suppose. But go sit up front there and go and fly this aircraft. 1 in 3 Americans reckon they can. So these are non-flying, these are non-aviators. So 46% of the males in the United States are between somewhat confident and very confident about landing a plane without previous experience. All they would need would be the air traffic controllers giving them guidance on what to do and how to do it. And then they reckon they could do it. What's your view there, pal?
So I've seen, I think it was a mentor pilot who put a video like this together with the same topic, and he asked the same question quite a while back. I must actually go and try and find the video and watch it, but I don't think it's possible. If you do land it, you're lucky.
Yeah.
If you think about the amount of training and all the stuff that we had to go through just to get it right ourselves.
But if you dumb it down, do you think it's not now? You're obviously going through all that training, but it's very comprehensive for a very specific set of skills that you're trying to learn. This is just point the nose there, do that to the thrust levers, and you know what I mean?
It might be possible, but it obviously ain't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And the chances are that the airplane will be usable afterwards are pretty slim.
Yeah. I think we're going to test it out here at the Sim Center.
Should
Get
we
someone
try?
in there. Give it a go. Okay?
That'll be interesting.
See if we can talk them through it. We did actually a while back. It was a few years ago now. It must have been 2018 or so. There was a corporate outfit that basically paid for the simulator. It was in the MD. And they wanted to, they use it as like a team building exercise where they had someone in the right seat with there was a pilot in the right seat. Can't remember who it was. But the pilot wasn't allowed to touch any controls or do anything. But he was allowed to simply talk. He wasn't allowed to point, but was allowed to talk to this corporate guy on the left. And I don't think any of them got the aircraft on the ground. It was supposed to be one of these like communication exercises. Are you actually listening to what's being said?
I suppose it depends on the cockpit you're sitting in. I mean, the MD. I mean, no, there's no way.
Yeah, well,
the MD's way too busy, and the 737 maybe.
737 is also busy, man.
Even
the new 737 is busy.
Look, with the the computer screens, someone who doesn't know anything about aviation might be able to figure things out. Possibly. But not in that old school MD. There's no ways, man.
Well, let us know what you think. Shoot us a comment there. Could you, if you're obviously not for the aviator guys, but for the people that listen to us for the travel stuff, if you haven't flown a plane, do you think you could land an aircraft in an emergency?
It's going to be an interesting survey, that.
Yeah. The bill to raise the pilot retirement age to 67 is no question it's going to happen.
Well, they'll have to. I mean, if you're going to try and combat this pilot shortage, it's the only way to do it. And I bet you there's a lot of guys smiling at that because you get another 2 years at topping up the pension fund.
Yeah. And particularly when you're being paid $600,000 US.
Jeez, man. Actually going to retire as gazillionaires.
Yeah.
And, but we're seeing this in France at the moment as well, where the retirement age, not just for aviation, across the board is being pushed up. We're having an interesting conversation with one of our colleagues the other day about it.
I don't see any issue with it, and particularly at the moment, it's an absolute no-brainer. The only thing is, basically you got to renew your first-class medical every 6 months. Don't see any changes there, and it doesn't alter any other qualification.
And it's necessary if you want to retain the experience in the industry. You're going to have to do that because.
But why? Why do we need to retain this experience? Is it not because of the, how many, 12,000 pilots? No, it was 5,000 airline pilots that basically got not faxed, but removed during COVID because of the mass panic and hysteria
Exactly.
that ensued. So this partly the shortage that we're talking about all the time, a lot of it to do with the poor decisions made over that period. But baby boomers, of course, accounting for half of the airline pilot population, and a lot of airlines are going to retire within the next 2 years. In addition to the 3,000, there was 3,000 who took those additional packages in during COVID, and about another 3,000 that simply haven't made their way into the flight deck, including guys like you and me.
Yep.
And there's a quick little fix there by just buying 2 more years, I suppose. So, that's going to be a no-brainer, but it leaves a shortfall of 28,000 pilots by the end of the decade.
Crazy, yeah.
You got 28,000 pilots there waiting. How are they going to sort that problem out?
Yeah.
Single crew.
Yeah, I still don't think that's going to happen.
I think it's going to happen. They got no choice, pal.
Hey, man.
They got no choice.
I don't know. I can't see how
28,000 pilots by the end. Well, it's already 223. In 7 years' time, 28,000 pilots. That you're gonna watch. That's gonna become a much bigger topic of discussion. And I think with everything that we've learned now in the past, particularly with the pandemic and all the rest, when you want to implement a big change, you don't do it gradually and get people talking about it. You implement it and it's done and it's there and it's too late almost to fight back. They kind of blindside you with these changes.
Yeah.
The aircraft's now approved. This is what we're going to do. Right. Accept it or bugger off.
Yeah.
The next thing you're flying single crew. That's my whole.
That's the way you see it going.
That's the way I see it going.
Yes, I don't know.
You will not be able to fly an aircraft and moan about your roster or your pay with someone in 10, 11 years' time.
You're going to be
forced.
No, you're going to be forced to sit there across the Atlantic at night, sitting by yourself, listening to podcasts all night.
Yeah.
Which is good for you. No.
Yeah, it is. Unless podcasts aren't taken up by AI or something.
Yeah, that's a strong possibility.
It is. Yeah, scrap that idea. Have you looked at this Ultrafan engine? It looks pretty cool, that RollsRoyce Ultrafan.
Yeah, it's quite a piece of tech, that, eh?
Yeah, it's a beast. So this is, from what I understand, the first of the big high bypass turbofans that's got a gearbox.
Yep.
Ultrafan technology demonstrator imminent, according to Rolls-Royce. And it's obviously there to validate a whole new suite of technology, including the engine's high-power gearbox, the lean burn combustion system, and the carbon titanium fan, which is blue. It's flipping cool.
Yeah,
Composite casing and a high-temperature ceramic matrix composite materials in the core. Rolls-Royce says it'll be 25% more fuel efficient than the first generation of Trent engines, and 10% better than the Trent XWB.
Wow.
Something to watch there. And obviously, I took a bit of time yesterday because I've heard about these geared engines for a while, and sort of, I haven't done a technical on an aircraft that's got one. So I watched a YouTube video yesterday. It's actually a hell of a clever system, but there are quite a few more working parts in these things.
Yeah, no, it's going to be something to watch. All those extra moving bits. I wonder how susceptible it will be to component failures and everything. But let's see. I mean, with the technology,
they do so much testing these days, and they can predict all these things so far ahead of time. So, you mentioned it earlier, chatting to our colleague in France about the strikes. So strikes going on, striking news around the world. Charles de Gaulle, Heathrow, having their usual strikes. There was in Israel as well. It's a lot of chaos in the whole traveling side of things just before Easter, as you said. And I had a bit of a chuckle there. Obviously, Heathrow, and talking to looking at an article about British Airways. And another poll with British Airways employees came out, and they said, do you recommend the airline as a place to work to other people? And only 25% of the BA employees actually recommended it as a good place to have your employee. So it's not a good number.
It's pretty, you mentioned that now, and it actually makes you realize you don't often hear people in the industry raving about, oh, I'm a pilot for British Airways and I love my job. They're all it's very understated. And is it just because they're working too hard, or
I don't know? And
they're not getting paid enough?
You would think it's quite a prestigious airline. I mean,
one would think so, yeah.
And they, but not very highly regarded amongst the employees.
No, I mean, you get the guys that work for Virgin, and they they love working for Virgin.
Yeah.
But I mean, who wouldn't dig working for Richard Branson? I mean,
apparently they say the big issue there is they don't trust the senior leadership of the airline, and that was 13,000 employees that they spoke to there. But obviously going back to those strikes do cause chaos.
Yeah.
Stand by for those ATC strikes later in the year, normally around August, and in France as well, and pretty stock standard. People have just become, I don't know, numb, immune, whatever you want to call it, to these travel disruptions. But I always find it so sad when you're at the airport and this is going on. I think you mentioned it to me yesterday. Said, whenever you went to Paris, you just got unlucky and you got stuck in one of these strikes with delays and all the rest. But you were going there on work. You were going there for sim training.
Yeah.
So if you delayed 1 or 2 days, whatever. But so many people have such little time off, particularly with families and that.
Mm-hmm.
You take 10 days off and you plan this trip very carefully with your family, and you got small kids, and now your trip gets delayed by 2 days, and then you got to come back 1 day earlier. It has a huge impact on a lot of families. It's not good.
Not only in the time, but I mean the financial impact as well. To go and most families do this on a bit of a budget. And then you get stuck in an airport because of a strike or whatever. You go and pay for an airport hotel and transport and food like that. It's usually so much more expensive the closer you are to an airport.
You're right.
Man, it's a massive, massive disruption. Yeah.
I always feel sorry for people. And you just wonder with the travel industry what we've been through. You just kind of...
Yeah.
I realize strikes get things done, but you kind of from time to time think, man, can't you just take one for the team? It wasn't so long ago where you were begging for a job,
And how often do those strikes actually result in you getting what you want?
I don't know.
I mean, I've never understood that. I mean, is it effective?
I suppose they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I suppose.
But
never really been part of one. But
we've never worn the gumboots. You weren't at SAA when that happened.
No, I saw it as an opportunity to get on my bike and go and drink beer somewhere.
Yeah.
So it was another day off.
Yeah. Another day. Nigeria Air, part of the podcast topic last year. We didn't think it was going to happen. 98% ready for takeoff, they say. Second quarter of 2023. Nigerian Aviation Minister announced that the project to launch Nigeria Air is nearly complete, and that the airline will take off before the end of the second quarter.
How much you want to bet me that this time next year we read that same headline all over again?
Well, the ownership structure, remember now, the ownership structure of Nigeria Air would see Ethiopian Airlines become a majority stakeholder with 49%, and the federal government of Nigeria 5%, and Nigerian investors and entrepreneurs with a 46% stake.
Okay.
So...
I still think we're going to read that same headline next time this year.
Yeah.
This time next year.
So obviously they've met a bit of opposition as well because of that whole setup. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Whether or not that happens or not. There was a huge amount of negativity about them at the beginning. I did not have faith that they would get going. So 98% is further down the line than I thought they would.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Let's see. South African news, pal. Spoken about the lack of approaches at various airports.
Yeah.
Obviously the big one. The South African pilots needed around the world. VistaJet, Ryanair. Anyone else come to mind? Can think off the top right now. Basically, if you go onto a pilot recruitment platform,
oh man,
there's the choices are there.
Oh yeah,
and I know Wizz Air is still looking at guys. The Abu Dhabi base there.
I was chatting to a pal of mine the other day who flies for an overseas carrier, and he's got an opportunity to get into Spirit.
Oh, Spirit,
in the States, I think. But yeah, chatting to him, I mean,
South African ICAO license or
no? Look, fortunately, he's got an FAA license.
Okay.
So I mean, he's one of the lucky few who's actually got his things together, and so the opportunities available to him are different as opposed to the majority of guys here.
Sure.
But in saying that, he said, it's actually insane the opportunities and the choices that one has if you're in that position now in the States. So yeah, it's cool, man. Hasn't quite filtered to us here yet, but I think with this Ryanair thing and the fact that they're willing to accept ICAO licenses is already a move and a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it is.
Won't be long before the state says, "Okay, boys, come."
Yeah, no, it won't. So, but keep a lookout. There are definitely opportunities around.
Yeah.
And I think these road shows are proving to be successful. If you're willing to, take a day, go to the actual road show, go and speak, talk to the people, and obviously you can get lots of questions answered there. Can I bring my family? How does the leave work? How does, paxing work? And, all those questions can only be answered if you're talking to the right person. So rather do your proper homework, know what's going on, and when those road shows come, go and see what it's all about. It's well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the only way you're really going to get all the answers that you want in person, rather than waiting for it to, dribble down through the grapevine.
Yeah, well worth it to do it that way. Airlink is set to launch a service between Joburg and Nairobi, becoming the only private sector airline to operate on that route. That'll be April 24th.
Yeah. So the only competition on the Joburg-Nairobi route would be Kenya Airways.
Yes.
Which is also still on the rocks.
Also still on the rocks, but they got approval for their restructuring plan.
Yeah.
So
and then there's an SAA involvement in there somewhere.
Well, the Kenya Airways restructuring plan that I had a look at, we're going to talk about it here today, but maybe it's a topic on its own. It actually, from what I read, kind of it looks like it might work.
Okay.
It's like
restructuring in the sense of what? Less government involvement, or?
Well, no, there's still going to be the government involvement, but I think the government, and I stand corrected on this, we need to go into it a bit deeper, but it looks like the agreement is done that, they will get bailed out in the various areas that they need, but going forward, and I suppose similar to the whole SAA story, you must do this and you must do that, but let's keep a lookout and see how it goes there at Kenya. Article I read, I found with these, Ryan, and this is why I'm always a bit skeptical. When you read one article, it's a bit dangerous because another one pops up next week, it's talking about the same stuff, but it kind of takes a different angle, and you say, that actually makes more sense now.
Yeah.
But that other previous article, you see that on News 24 a lot.
All the time, man.
If you try and take a News 24 article and make sense of it, and read it like you're speaking the truth, man, you're going to get caught short because that article's missing out various things that are crucial to the context of the entire story.
As you said earlier, it's just the same as watching a Carte Blanche episode. So I don't get caught into being too subjective.
Yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I like the end of the article, and Airlink, they always get it right with certainly the internal promotion in the articles is always so good because it ends off by saying Airlink has achieved a 95.73 average on-time performance so far, making it a first choice for many.
Yeah.
And that alone will encourage people to use Airlink services on that route.
Yeah, of course.
It's such a vital thing, that on-time performance. And
While we're on the subject of Airlink as well, I mean, I suppose we should give them a big shout out to the employment drive that they're on at the moment. I mean, we're seeing lots of guys being given the opportunity to join them.
And what an
which is great.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is worth a shout out because it's creating that sort of buzz and excitement. And what a time to actually be involved in South African aviation as a whole at the moment because of this this buzz. It's a good time to be holding a pilot license, and but you need the airlines, you need the likes of Airlink and the Safairs and that to be employing.
Of course, man, because all it's doing is just kicking up all the dust. Like we're seeing it now. I think I mentioned it last week or in the week before's podcast. With the airlines starting to take up all the pilots that they are now, especially the guys of low experience, it's creating movement in the general aviation charter industry
Everywhere.
Yeah, so it's really starting that engine, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I think why it's such a good opportunity, and if you're looking at it as asking us, why, other than the job itself, which obviously has a relatively good paycheck at the end of the month, but you're also going to a really organized outfit that know what they're doing. The training's going to be good, and you're flying really modern, up-to-date aircraft. So you're going to get that experience straight away. And a lot of these guys that we've, fortunately been able to, give some, airline prep or interview prep to, one of the things that they're so excited about is just going into a professional environment.
Yeah.
And you forget that is such a big draw card. I mean, flying a decent ship is a nice thing, but, to also know you're going into a well-organized outfit is a big draw card.
You hit the nail on the head there, man. It's stepping into that structure.
Yeah.
Which a lot of GA guys don't get. It's quite nice. It's a nice cushy feeling that. I remember that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did you have that? Yeah. No, it's cool. So no, good on Airlink for that. A little Ryanair advisory this week. Have you listened to any decent podcasts lately? We haven't really given any podcast reviews of late.
We haven't. But I must be honest. I've been on a massive sort of Jocko sort of deep dive. I've been listening to a lot of that, odd bit of Rogan here and there, but more of the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, a big topic of discussion the whole year, certainly by us, and obviously on the advisories being the whole AI side, ChatGPT, and where's AI going, and everyone's got their own theories, but it's a big subject and topic, Ryan, that I think everyone, it doesn't matter what you do, where you are, how old you are, or what your plans are in the future, one needs to keep a close eye on AI and see and try and understand how it can either benefit you or see how it might affect you later on. And there was an excellent podcast. Lex Friedman interviewed Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, the company that was behind ChatGPT and now GPT-4, the latest version. And he basically explains the AI technology and explains the threats, what could happen, what he thinks might happen, and where he sees things going. And you and I were having a bit of a chat yesterday. We said during the pandemic, there was this real evident idea that one couldn't just rely on your existing degree or knowledge. If you take us as an example, as airline pilots, I mean, we built the initial part of the podcast about take your skills and use them somewhere else, because it's not just usable in the flight deck. And one of the big things that obviously came out and a lot of guys went and did was started to learn how to use computers. Some guys even went to learn how to code. And coding is no easy feat on itself. I mean, it's a hell of a complex thing. But now even coding is under threat by AI, because you don't have to know how to code yourself, but you need to know how to ask for the code to be produced.
Yeah.
So you could be a poor coder per se, and then use an AI platform to say, please find the bugs in my code. And what would take you a month is taking now 10 minutes. Or you could know no code at all and know how to ask ChatGPT to do it, and it can actually build something for you. So an industry that a year and a half ago was regarded as right at the precipice of of technology, is now potentially under threat by this large language model of ChatGPT. And I don't care what you do, how you do it, if you don't keep a close eye on where things are going, I think you might get caught, with your pants down. And very good podcast to listen to. Lex talks very slowly, and he asks some interesting questions. But if you're unsure about the technology and the subject, a good place to start would be that podcast, and to hear the threats of people like Elon Musk. He's scared about this. He's scared about the technology.
Well, you should be. And I mean, anybody with half a brain, you've got to be eyes wide shut at the moment, because this threat does exist. I think I still said it to you the other day. You can't afford to be too comfortable wherever you are with whatever you're doing. Because first of all, we saw it real hand. Your existing career became obsolete very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, fortunately it's bounced back now. But I mean, I suppose aviation is different in that sense. This, it's you got to be paying attention.
Well, aviation was different in that sense in that period.
Yeah.
In the future, maybe not. You start talking about things like single crew operations. Why I'm adamant it's going to go that way is because you'll have artificial intelligence sitting in the right seat.
Yeah.
You'll be the commander, but you'd have,
Chat GPT 67 sitting next to you.
Yeah, reading the QRH if need be.
We'll read the QRH, but we'll actually be the QRH.
Be the QRH. And
this is getting heavy, bro.
It is. It's a major subject. But I'll leave the details there in the show notes about that podcast and about Sam Altman as well.
Yeah.
And these guys are so young. You look at this guy and see what they've built, and it's just a remarkable piece of tech. Quite amazing.
Yeah. You still finding value in the subscription version?
Yeah. So I'm on the plus version, $20 USD a month. It's not that cheap.
That's a lot of beer money, bro.
But if you're using it a lot, I find I use it a lot with. I had a contract the other day. I didn't fully understand certain elements of the contract. You could take it to a lawyer and say, what does this mean? But ultimately, I copied and pasted the whole contract. I put it in ChatGPT and I said, please explain what this means, as if you're explaining it to a 16-year-old. And it explained everything. Like really? Basically, not line for line, but, section for section. I mean, you can use it for a huge amount of things. And the trick is with it, and I think this is why, the subject last week when we spoke about what they're doing in the UAE, rather teaching people how to use it properly, because you need to know how to ask it a question for you to get the answer that you want. A little bit like a calculator is useless unless the input going in is correct.
Yeah.
So that's where it's quite interesting.
You ask a stupid question, you're going to definitely get a stupid answer.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's where it becomes a thing there. So my advisory this week, check out that podcast. It's well worth it. Was a good one. Upcoming events.
Hey, this weekend, Melbourne, Formula One.
Yeah, who's got this one?
Hey, man, I was actually going to ask you the same question. Who do we predict this weekend will hold the
Look, I'm
the podiums? Will be Verstappen.
The Red Bulls are so far. Look, I think they've picked up one or two little reliability issues.
Yeah, but not as badly as the other teams. I think Merc are suffering a bit.
Yeah.
Ferrari.
Ferrari really battling.
Yeah.
Bad start to the season there. But if it's not sorted out quickly by the other teams, Red Bull are going to run away with this one very, very quickly.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be cool. Melbourne always a good one. It's early in the morning on the Sunday, so something to do on Sunday morning.
Yep.
And not this weekend, unfortunately. I thought it was this weekend. It's next weekend. Israel Adesanya is fighting Alex Pereira in the UFC.
Awesome.
That's going to be an awesome one. But cool for me because I have my mom coming to visit.
Hey, epic.
Yep.
You managed to get her up on a flight from Cape Town.
Yeah, got her coming up on an Airlink flight on Saturday morning.
Okay.
Staying with me for the week, which is good. And like I commented, Airlink, I was looking for a ticket on Link, and then I thought, no, let me have a look at the other airlines. Went across to Safair, nothing left. Went across, nothing. So lucky I nabbed that Link ticket. So yeah, looking forward to that. Haven't seen it for a while.
That's magic, man. Well, enjoy every moment.
Thanks, pal.
Always special to have him on visit, and yeah, take it easy.
Thanks for the show. Enjoyed it. Lots of news. The news is coming in thick and fast. So we're actually picking and choosing the stories at the moment, but a hell of a lot more to chat about next week. And no doubt we'll have a bit more clarity on why the suspension of the procedures around South African airports is taking place.
Yeah, and hopefully with a few comments from our regular listeners, we'll have a better understanding or an idea rather, as to whether South Africans think they can land a 737.
Yeah.
If both pilots have conked out.
That's it.
Cool, man.
Cheers for now, pal.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Ciao.
Runway 26 left. Vector to the paddock, port in Indiana's landing runway, runway 26 left.